The technique, it looks very simple. It looks like a wrist lock. Let us note that there are internal aspects where it's not a wrist lock, in the sense that energy is actually in throughout his whole body. The wrist lock is just in the wrist. The energy in his body is, I'm here and you're moving him. Okay? And that starts from the very beginning. So energy just in his arm versus getting his center to move. Those are your internal aspects. Aiki and Kokyu. Your strategic aspects are one of non-contestation. Okay? So, you have two choices. One, you manipulate his arm to put it there. Or you move to where his arm is there. Do you understand? That's Jiu-jitsu. Okay? So, if I go like this hand has to be turned down into place and then put on place. Okay? Let's just start with the second thing. Here, this has to now be put on place. Okay? If I move my chest to it, it doesn't have to be put on place. I move me there. Do you get it? And if you look at the first move, his arm is already turned. His arm is turned. Do you see? His arm's not here. Because you're in his body. And you're in his position. Do you see? You're not grabbing it here. Well, guess what? That's not the right place. And what ends up happening is you put his fingers on you. Do you see? Which is why I counted that as not the technique. Because now you force it. That wasn't the technique. Okay? Which is why the other one made sense to your body. You see? Because the knuckles are in place for no body. This for the wrist lock. Even this one. Ooh, better move, it's gonna hurt. Yeah, you gotta move. Don't resist the Kokyu. Okay? But the one we're doing is on the chest. So it's in his body, not in his wrist. Move in his body, and I move my shoulder to where it needs to be. It'll change every time. It depends on what he does. You see? Depends on what he does. There, right there. Boom. There, it's in. So I'm moving to where that thing will be in place. Not moving his arm onto me. Okay? And that is just straight jiu-jitsu. You always do that. Okay? You're always supposed to do it. So I move, boom, it's in place. Boom, in place. There's no turning of the wrist. To turn the wrist, I would have had to have been stronger than it. It turns on the kazushi, right there, in his body. Boom. Once you get in place, some of you, sometimes you're here, but then you crank on his wrist, and it slips, and it goes down your body. Boom. Use this in his body. In his body. See? Not just in his wrist. In his body. Boom. In his body. Boom. There, it's on. In his body. Same Kokyu. Boom. Same Kokyu there. Same right here, in his body, still in his body. In his body, on, in his body. On, in his body. On. On. It doesn't have to be big. I just made it big. Kind of do it small. On. But I'm moving my body to where it is. And on the first part, we're starting what you need. Okay? But you always have to get out of the wrist. Here we go. Well, it's in place, right? It's not on. Can you see? It's only it's open. Do you understand? Okay. The same thing that moves him is the same thing when I'm here. And feel that? Okay. What do you feel now? Okay. Pull your hand out. Okay. Now I want you to understand it in terms of friction. You got it? Okay. Whoa. Here. Here. Do you feel the friction? You see? Try to pull your hand out. And that's the friction that moves him. That is Aikido. Okay. So right now you go like this, and it slips down. You see? And you start to lose it. You want instead is you're in his body and you're in his body. Okay? Through that adhesion, you alright? Yeah. Okay, cool. I want you to note how it's actually pretty tight. You see? It's pretty tight in terms of your ability to pull out. You get it? Even though it's not closed. It's not closed, right? So this same energy, you see how I can pull him in with it? Pull tight. It doesn't slip down my body. Pull tight, tight, tight. Tight, 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 tight. You feel it? It's tight. Tight. Okay. When you guys go to do your wrist locks, you're actually taking it off. Okay? Leave it on. Leave it on here. You feel the same friction? Do you see? Same friction. Same friction. So don't push it off of you in your attempt to hurt him. Leave it on you. Leave it on you. Leave it on you. It doesn't slip off. Does not slip off. Okay, we talked a lot on those last 2 parts, so I'm not going to say it all again. I'm just going to demonstrate it. So again, in summary, as in the podcast today, he has to organize his body a certain way. He has to work with energy a certain way, a prescribed way, which designates the art. And so does Uke. And both are doing the exact same thing, but he's doing it from yang, and I'm doing it from yin. As a result of that, as he tries as a yang, from a yang aspect, to put energy into the whole of my body, I, as Uke, let that energy go into the whole of my body. I organize myself. And when I do that, I also do not localize the wrist lock, okay? And then I don't get hurt. And then I put more of my mass into the technique, and he has to do his part much better because he experiences me as more unified and thus more heavy, okay? So I just want to show you Kemi aspect of it again, okay? So my whole body is organized. Boom. And you can see there's no need to go, but you can see I disorganized. And now his energy is going to get localized. It's going to move my whole body. So I don't risk injury because energy is dispersed. Next point. Pay attention to the elbow. As I let energy go throughout the whole of my body, energy remains constant throughout the whole of the body of the technique. In Nikyo, it's going to be the elbow. So I pay attention to the elbow energy. Meaning, I come into his whole body through his elbow. Through his elbow. Not his wrist. So I go in, and it's his elbow. 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 See? Right there. Boom. Elbow. Pop. Now I reach the end of my range of motion, and the elbow is off. So I can transfer that energy, just like we can transfer the energy from the yin perspective. I have to transfer the energy to the whole of his body, from the Nikyo to the Ikkyo-ura. Boom, off in the whole of his body. Not on, off, on. It's on, stays on. All the way to the end. Elbow, elbow. This elbow, all the way to the end. On. Not here, off, on. In his body.